Hello, everybody. Quick news episode for.
I just continue.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Quick news. Shall I keep going?
I think the fact that we can't even take ourselves seriously adds to the mix.
All right. Quick news episode. That's what I was trying to say. We're going to do a very brief, just recap of some news stories that we want to go through. Because I'm so bad at introducing things, I'm now going to pass over to Ollie, who is wearing a very natty new cap. It's lovely.
It is limited edition.
News time. Tell me about the news that you found
time.
interesting, Ollie.
Well, of course, Duncan, I found AI layoffs news interesting. I don't think there's a single news. Yeah, well, exactly right. I don't think it's a single. Of course, it's way up in our news tracker, of course, on our website. Do visit shortfuseresearch.com. For God's sake, please. Just for the hosting fees alone, do me a favour.
True.
But back in vogue again, of course, Duncan, because over the last, I'd say 2-3 weeks, loads of really interesting news around AI layoffs. It started off with New York, humble old New York, where any mass layoffs in a lot of states in the US, you have to say where those layoffs have come from. So the state can kind of ramp up its response. So it knows how to respond to them, what kind of support services it needs. And in New York, they're unique in that they've added AI to the mix, right, alongside other things like restructuring, bankruptcy, and all of the other stuff. Now, you would imagine, given all of the media stories we've had over the last year, that box would be ticked quite a bit. But it hasn't been ticked once, Duncan. Not once, right? Which is interesting in and of itself. However, following that, over the last 2 weeks, we've had about 3 other news stories around layoffs, right? So there's of course Block announcing that they're gonna lay off 40% of their team as a result of AI. That has come under quite a bit of scrutiny from equity analysts who are just saying actually they just hired loads of people in 2022 onwards and are now unwieldy, and their stock price has been tanking 40% as a result, and they needed to do something, and this has given them a tremendous amount of smoke they can hide behind.
It's a tale as old as the AI bubble itself.
It really is, isn't it? It really is. And we wrote a quick piece on this, on both of those news stories on our website, shortfuseresearch.com. Again, for God's sake, go to the website, guys, please. Comparing both of those news stories and suggesting that, again, it seems like a pure smokescreen, and we'll continue seeing those smoke screens because why not, right? You can say we're going to lay off all of these people, and it's not because we're bankrupt, which would normally hit your stock market price. It's because of AI, and actually your share price goes up as a result. So it's the best time ever, seemingly, to get away with structural layoffs. Not that we would condone that type of activity. But just to round off this news story, a couple of big, I'm going to say studies, but they're not really studies. Someone described the research coming from that equity research company. I can never pronounce their name because for some reason I have a mental block.
Citrini
or something. Citrini. That sounds plausible to me. I keep calling it Critini.
It sounds like a lovely lemony drink to me.
Like Sunny Delight. Yeah, Citrini.
Well,
Sunny Delight.
Citrini citrusy. You know, like more like a San Pellegrino. More like a San Pellegrino than a. You know, that's just where my mind goes.
Than the drink that turned kids orange in the 90s.
Yeah.
San Pellegrino never did that. But they released their essay, which someone described as fanfiction, which I think is probably the correct category to put it in. And that has spun off an entire discussion over whether or not anyone will ever have jobs. All of the, I'm going to use the phrase credible economists over the last couple of days have come back and said this essay is beyond fanciful.
I mean,
and not credible at all.
I'm with you on that. You could put in to any AI chatbot or program at the moment, put a detailed prompt in saying, I reckon this is going to happen. Write me a doomsday scenario for SaaS companies, and then just publish that. The bonkers thing is that it actually affected the markets. You know, I'd love to study how that became so viral that it affected the market so much, because there's so much fan fiction, you know, on this topic out there that one thing created such a stir. Like, somebody sent it to me before I didn't know that I knew that it was affecting the markets at all. And I read it and I was like,
right.
You know, okay, there's another one.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
We've all read The Road, you know, so.
You know what I mean? But then, God, everybody went bonkers over it. It's like the Matt Schumer article that went viral as well, around AI capabilities and job losses. And I'm like, When will one of our podcasts or articles do the same, Ollie?
Oh, yeah. I'd love to go viral. Ideally for good reasons.
Yeah.
I do, just like...
We'll get something and we've finally gone viral. It's because look at these two idiots.
It will be. It'll be a misstatement made somewhere where people are just like, oh my God, and they'll ignore our body of great work. Hundreds of episodes.
Yeah.
But what I would say to that, Doug, it touches on another thing we've been talking about a lot, which is the AI bubble, the valuation bubble. And I suspect this just caught the market at the right time where they were like, hey, we need to let off steam somewhere, and I'd rather it wasn't in the huge amount of money we've spent in AI, so we'll blame these guys instead.
Right.
And the SaaS guys, the service providers, got hit in a very similar way to Gartner being hit a few months ago for kind of no real reason.
Yeah. All right. Next bit of news is one that I find particularly fascinating. Is the OpenAI, Anthropic, and the Department of Defense, Department of War in America, and the red lines and the conversations around who's the safest AI, who's going to be working with the government. Do we have red lines? Is Sam Altman lying? There's so much to this news article, but I'm going to try and keep it devoid of personal opinions and just a cold, hard analysis of what the facts. So yeah, that's going to be nigh on impossible. But put it this way, Anthropic, who, it has to be said, have had Claude used in the military and are not upset about Claude being used by the military, have laid out a red line for the US government to say that we will not have the model used for mass surveillance of US citizens or in the use of, the dogs are unhappy about it as well, or the use of autonomous weapons without a human in the loop. And Anthropic said there's a red line, and the US government has said no. And Anthropic, to their credit, have said, well, there's a red line, we pull out, we're not going to change. Then, literally I think shortly after that, Sam Altman said, I agree with Anthropic. I think we all need to be careful about these things. And then shortly afterwards going, we've agreed a contract with the Department of War and their safety. They agree with everything we've said around safety. And isn't that funny? When there's such beef between OpenAI and Anthropic already, all I'm going to say is that considering the troubles over OpenAI's revenue numbers and the amount of investment, becoming a government contractor and entwining yourself with the US government is a move that you would make to ensure that any troubles might then be bailed out by who else you're working with. So, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of news of people cancelling their ChatGPT subscriptions because they are unhappy with that approach. Again, I'm going to stay devoid of personal opinions. There's a very large kickback against that. In fact, our favourite astronaut, Ollie, who's our favourite astronaut?
Well, I remember in our episode, I did repeatedly say famous German.
Not Werner von Braun. No, not that one. Who's our favourite astronaut who recently went to space?
Tim Peake?
No, come on.
Why is it? Oh,
Katy Perry. Katy Perry, our famous astronaut, who has 85 million followers on various social network things.
Catching up to us.
Yeah, I know. No, we've got 85. No, we haven't.
No, we haven't.
We haven't. But Katy Perry has just posted a screenshot of her subscribing to Claude rather than ChatGPT. So it's hit that saturation, the cancelled ChatGPT has hit that saturation of the market that influencers are starting to point it out. It's not just tech nerds doing it, it's in the public consciousness. So yeah, does OpenAI care more about its government contracts than its consumer business now? Is that more valuable to it? is Anthropic doing it as an advertising ploy? Who's in the right here? Who's in the wrong? Is there any such thing? All I can say personally is I like to see somebody having a red line that will not be crossed and actually standing for that, regardless of what those red lines are, because, you know, a lot of the comments have been, well, Anthropic was working with the military anyway. Sure, most people do, but having a red line and sticking by it, I think is worth something with the way that the world stands at the moment. And I think OpenAI and Sam Altman have just got themselves into a situation where they have now intertwined themselves with a way of doing things, a way of going about things, a public perception, and with the US government and the US administration as it stands. Whether that's a good thing, I will leave for you to decide.
You've raised an interesting point that I hadn't thought of. So are you suggesting, implying or otherwise, that part of the strategy is if you embed yourself into government infrastructure, you become critical, and therefore when you eventually go bankrupt,
you'll get bailed out.
You'll get bailed out. That's very, I hadn't thought of that.
I think that's it's entirely behind it. And
well, you're a cynical man today.
I know. Cynically, it's cynically, very cynically, were those discussions going on beforehand? And this gets almost to conspiracy theory, right? Like, was OpenAI working with the government to displace Anthropic from their position and swoop in? Because it happened very, very, very quickly. Those discussions, the red line, Anthropic pulling out, and then OpenAI are there within 24, 48 hours. Cynically, that feels fast, So were they working to do that beforehand? I don't know.
I know what you mean. Like, in previous administrations, that wouldn't be cynical. That would be like, well, they must have been there beforehand. However, with the current administration, I can conceive of a world where that very public spat between Donald Trump and Anthropic would end up with him being like, yeah, come on in then.
Yeah,
quick, now, sign this, and closing the deal pretty quickly. Who can say? There will be, here is my pledge to our audience, some bad maths I think we can come up with, which is having a look at the average software spending of the US Department of Defense and comparing that to consumer spending on software and see whether or not one is smarter than the other, because consumers are switching over from OpenAI as a result. Some inevitably will switch towards it. But is that long-term bet of being integrated into the US Department of Defense as a key supplier? Shut up. My dogs are famous pacifists. They don't like. Second I say Department of Defense, they're furious.
Yeah. They want it to be called the Department of War and the Gulf of America and stuff like that. Yeah. They're like, come on.
They're total pedants. They're like, actually, I think you mean the Department of War, actually.
But no, I think that would be a good bit of bad maths to bring to the table next time.
Well, no, on our website. I'm trying to coerce people to coming onto our website. So you will only find it on shortfuseresearch.com.
Exclusive.
Yeah, it's an exclusive.
Yeah, so I think that would be an interesting. I've got to stop saying interesting. I think that will be a profound thing to look at on our website, and yeah, that's my cynical take on that piece of news. And it's ever evolving, it's ever developing. And one thing that I do want to have a deep mull over that I haven't yet is actually how LLMs would be used in those respects, right? So for planning, for autonomous weapons, for mass surveillance, like what are the actual use cases and how would those models be being used? We have to say that the Department of Defense War is probably using a model that isn't available to consumers and has different things built around it. I think Anthropic said that the one that they're using at the moment and seemingly being phased out is a couple of leaps ahead of the consumer version. So I want to have a think about how you would use an LLM for autonomous weapons. Like, could you shoot these people? Sure, you're right. You're absolutely right. Like, why wouldn't you shoot these people?
I was thinking that from like an intelligence point of view as well. Just like, yeah, that's the best strategy. I mean, you've seen the now viral one is, should I walk to the car wash or take my car to the car wash? And it says, oh, you'd be mad to drive 100 meters.
Yeah.
You can imagine similar paradoxes coming to the fore with defense or intelligence decisions. So, I mean, I hope there are safeguards in place. You should go ahead.
Yeah. You're the best defense secretary there's ever been.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I could imagine.
It's terrifying.
No, I've got to be careful. That could go down well with some of the people, I would imagine. But I've got to be careful. So I'm going to just, this is the situation. A cold, hard analysis of where we are and what we think is going to happen. And I shall say no more. Yeah. All right. Okay. You got any more news you want to cover, or should we quit it for now?
Well, I think you were going to talk about a good old fashioned acquisition, and we're thinking of I'm thinking of bringing a tool, shortfuseresearch.com, where we will take a tongue-in-cheek assessment of whether an acquisition is a good one or a bad one, and we'll reveal more about that later on. But Duncan, why don't you kick us off with your first one?
So this feels like, to me, quite old news with the pace of change at the moment. It feels to me like quite old news. But OpenClaw has been, well, I think rather than an acquisition, it's more of an acquihire, where the chap who vibe coded OpenClaw has been acquihired by OpenAI. And OpenClaw will become a foundation and will remain open. And is going to be integrated into ChatGPT, all the tools that ChatGPT offers. Now, for this is interesting on so many different levels, because OpenClaw being vibe coded is one of them, and he soon came out to say after the Acquihire, "Oh, I used Codex 5.2 to do this." Oh, that's funny timing, isn't it? To just make that stipulation. Also, it has myriad security problems and myriad holes in it that one could argue are a result of it being vibe coded by a single person that OpenAI would have to fix, supposedly, I mean, presumably, before implementing it into their consumer tools. And also, just it's OpenClaw, it's open. And they say we'll keep it open source, it will be a foundation, it will always be open source. But then they're called OpenAI. They were always supposed to be open source as well. It's funny, you've got OpenAI and OpenClaw. Will OpenClaw ultimately follow the same thing? And it's a bit like Meta's acquisition strategy, right? And I saw a video of Jason Calacanis talking about this, where he was saying Sam Altman's just following the Mark Zuckerberg playbook. Find somebody at a competitor, acquire them, shut them down. And whether that's the situation with OpenClaw, who knows? But it feels like it might be. Or at least purportedly keep it open and then shut it down once you've kind of subsumed it all within your own product base. So yeah, one that is worth following the trajectory if it just dies, or if they end up doing stuff, because a lot of the time these things are acquired and then just fizzle out. But I think that the vibe coded nature of it, the security flaws, and the open nature of it are the key things to follow along with this news story.
I'm waiting for us to be acqui-hired by the rest is history, by the way. Just want to chat with Tom Holland and Dominic Sandberg about the fall of the Inca Empire, if they'll have me.
You'd leave me. You would leave me.
No, you could come too. No, we would both be acqui-hired.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Okay.
I don't think knowing things about history, I mean, they know so much about history, we could just chip in with,
why would we go on the Rest is History podcast instead of...
You start pulling at that thread, buddy, and your whole life stops making sense.
Fair enough. All right. For more news analysis, go to our website, read our blogs, look at our stuff on social media, and we'll be back with another news episode fairly soon. Thanks for listening, everybody. Say bye-bye, Ollie.
Cheerio.
I want to keep that short.
It's
Is
quite
that all
short.
right?
Yeah, it's 20 minutes. But